Hello friends and welcome back to Angareji Sahitya. In today's video, we are diving into a powerful and emotional novel, Untouchable, written by Mulk Raj Anand. This story follows just one day in the life of Bakha, a young boy from the lowest caste in Indian society. But through this one day, we experience a world of pain, injustice, and also hope. So let's begin. Now, let's talk a little about the writer Mulk Raj Anand. He was born in 1905 in Peshawar, which is now in Pakistan. He later studied in England and believed in justice, equality, and human rights. He wanted to use his writing to speak for the people who had no voice in society. Friends, Anand was one of the first Indian authors to write in English about poor people and the caste system. Most writers at that time were writing about rich people, love stories, or kings and queens. But Anand showed the real life of ordinary people, people like Bakha, who were suffering every day. His first novel, Untouchable, was published in 1935 and it became very famous around the world. It made people think, feel, and ask questions, and that is exactly what good literature should do. So, friends, let's now begin our journey into this unforgettable story. Friends, let me introduce you to Bakha, a young boy who lives at the very bottom of society in India. He belongs to a group called the Untouchables, and sadly, that means people treat him very badly, just because of his birth. He lives in a poor and dirty part of town known as the Outcast Colony, with his father Lakha, sister Sohini, and brother Rakha. Bakha works as a sweeper. His job is to clean public toilets, which most people think is the dirtiest and lowest kind of work. Even though he does this job well and keeps himself clean, people still look down on him. They never treat him with kindness or respect just because of his caste. But you know what's interesting? Bakha doesn't want to stay stuck in this life. He dreams of something better. He looks up to the British. He loves their clothes, their ways, and their style. He believes that if he looks and behaves like them, maybe people will treat him better too. That little spark of hope in him makes his story very powerful. Friends, the story begins early in the morning. Bakha, our main character, wakes up late and immediately gets scolded by his father. His father Lakha is old and sick, but still expects Bakha to follow the strict routine of their work. There is no rest for people like them. From the moment they wake up, life is full of struggle. Bakha lives in a small broken hut in a dirty colony far from the rest of the town. The place is full of flies, bad smells, and filth. They don't have clean water, proper toilets, or even peace. This is the life of the untouchables. People pushed to the edge of society just because of their caste. It's not just poverty, friends. It's a life of disrespect and rejection. Soon after waking up, Bakha starts his job cleaning public toilets. It's a job that nobody else wants to do. He didn't choose it. It was given to him simply because of his birth. People think his work is dirty and shameful, so they stay away from him. But Bakha doesn't complain. He quietly does his duty like he has done every day. Friends, after finishing his work, Bakha washes himself carefully. He wants to look fresh and presentable. He puts on his cleanest clothes, which are styled like the English, because he admires their clean habits and smart dressing. He believes that if he looks neat and modern, maybe people will treat him with a little more respect. But sadly, no matter how clean or polite Bakha tries to be, society still sees him as unclean. They don't see his hurt or his effort, only his caste. And that's what hurts him the most. Through this morning routine, the author shows us how deeply unfair and painful Bakha's life is, right from the start of the day. Friends, after finishing his morning work, Bakha is sent into town. His father asks him to buy food and get some clothes repaired. He walks through the busy streets, looking at the shops and people. He is tired but trying to stay careful. However, he makes a small mistake that will cost him his peace. In those days, untouchables had to shout posh posh while walking through public areas. This was meant to warn high caste people so they wouldn't accidentally touch them. But Bakha, lost in his thoughts, forgets to say it. He's just walking like a normal person. Because deep down, that's all he wants to be. Suddenly, a high caste man brushes against Bakha. Instead of understanding it was an accident, the man becomes furious. He starts shouting that Bakha has polluted him and slaps him hard in front of everyone. People gather and stare, but no one helps Bakha. He's treated like dirt, not like a human being. Bakha is shocked and hurt, not just physically but emotionally. He did nothing wrong, yet he was punished harshly. This moment opens his eyes to the ugly truth. Even a small act, like forgetting to shout a warning, can lead to public shame if you are born into the wrong caste. This is Bakha's first big humiliation in the novel, and it shows us how cruel and unfair the caste system really is. Friends, after the humiliation in the market, Bakha returns back to his house and he was very hungry and thirsty. And he asks his sister Sohini to bring some water for him. But there is no water in the house. So Bakha and his younger sister Sohini go to a town well to fetch water. But they are not allowed to touch the pump because they are untouchables. They have to wait for someone from the higher caste to pour the water for them. This simple act becomes a long and painful wait just to get water, which is a basic need for all humans. Later, Sohini goes to the temple to clean the toilet of priest Pandit Kalinath. This is a very part of her daily work, and she does it silently and respectfully. But something terrible happens. The priest, instead of thanking her, tries to take advantage of her. He behaves badly, trying to touch her in a wrong way when no one is watching. Sohini is shocked and scared. She cries out loudly and people gather. But instead of accepting his mistake, the priest turns the story around. He says Sohini polluted him just by being near him, even though he was the one who did wrong. He blames her, and because he is a high caste priest, people believe him. When Bakha hears what happened, he becomes furious. He wants to fight for his sister, but he stops himself because he knows the priest has power and respect in society. If Bakha raises his hand, he might be beaten or even jailed. He feels helpless, and this helplessness is what hurts him most. Friends, after all the pain and insults of the day, Bakha feels tired, hungry, and sad. He walks to the bazaar, the local market, just to get something sweet to eat. He sees some sweets at a shop and decides to buy a few, thinking maybe a small treat will cheer him up a little. But even here, he doesn't get respect. The shopkeeper refuses to touch Bakha's money. He also doesn't hand him the sweets directly. Instead, he throws the coins onto the ground and drops the sweets from a distance, like Bakha is not a human being but something dirty. This moment shows how even small everyday things like buying food become full of shame and pain for someone like Bakha. Bakha quietly picks up the sweets and eats them alone, sitting by the side. He feels deeply hurt inside, but he also knows he has no choice. If he says anything, things might get worse. So once again, he has to swallow his hunger and his pride, just to survive another day. Friends, after a long day full of insults and pain, Bakha finally finds a moment of joy. His heart lights up when Charat Singh, an upper caste man who shows him kindness, gives him a real hockey stick. Friends, Bakha loves to play hockey. Hockey was his favorite game. This is not just a piece of wood, it's a gift of happiness for him, a symbol of hope. With the stick in hand, Bakha rushes to the field, excited to play the game he loves most, and that is hockey. But that happiness doesn't last. During the fast play, Rakha accidentally hits a small boy with his stick. The child falls and gets hurt. Before anyone can explain, the boy's mother comes running. She doesn't ask what happened. She immediately blames Bakha. Why not? Because he caused harm, but because he is an untouchable. Her words are cruel, calling him dirty and polluting. Bakha stands there, shocked and heartbroken. He didn't even touch the boy, but truth doesn't matter when caste decides guilt. After this painful scene, Bakha walks away tired and confused. He begins to think deeply about his life. Why does the world treat him like this? Is there any hope for someone like him? These thoughts lead him to wander the streets, where he soon meets a British soldier, a meeting that will give him a small but powerful glimpse of dignity and hope. Friends, after facing so much pain and insult all day, Bakha just walks around the streets, not sure where to go. His heart is heavy and he feels like no one sees him as a human being. But then something unexpected happens. He meets a British soldier, Colonel Hutchinson, standing nearby. To Bakha's surprise, the soldier speaks to him kindly. He smiles, asks a few questions, and talks to Bakha like a normal person. He doesn't show any disgust or anger. He doesn't ask Bakha about his caste. For the first time that day, Bakha feels like someone is actually treating him with respect. This small moment makes a big difference to Bakha. He feels a little lighter, a little happier. The soldier's friendly words give him hope. Hope that may not everyone in the world will treat him badly. Bakha begins to believe that the British might be more fair than the people of his own land. To Bakha, this meeting is more than just a nice chat. It's a symbol, a glimpse of equality and a touch of modern thinking. He starts to wonder if change is possible and if people from outside India might help bring fairness and justice for people like him. Even though it's a short meeting, it stays in Bakha's mind. It becomes one of the only bright spots in a dark and painful day. A tiny ray of light showing that maybe, just maybe, things can get better. Friends, after everything that happened, the insults, the shame, the small moment of kindness, Bakha walks alone, lost in thought. His heart is heavy and his mind is full of questions. He begins to wonder, why is my life like this? Why I am treated like dirt just because I was born into a certain caste? He dreams of a better life, one where he can be clean, wear nice clothes, and be respected like everyone else. But deep inside, he feels trapped. No matter how hard he tries, society always pushes him down. These thoughts shows us how untouchability doesn't just hurt the body, it also hurts the heart and the mind. As he walks, Bakha starts to question the world around him. For the first time he thinks maybe the system is wrong. He is sad and confused, but he is also beginning to open his eyes. He doesn't have answers yet, but he's starting to ask the right questions. Friends, as the sun goes down, Bakha joins a crowd gathered to listen to a man speaking about Mahatma Gandhi. The speaker says that Gandhi believes untouchability is a great evil and that it must be removed from the Indian society. For Bakha, these words are like fresh air, something he's never heard before. The speaker also says Gandhi respects all type of work, even cleaning toilets. He calls sweepers children of God and says their work is just as important as any other. This is the first time Bakha hears someone speak with real respect for people like him. It touches his heart deeply. Bakha feels something new growing inside him. That is hope. Maybe things can change. Maybe people will one day treat each other with kindness, no matter what caste they are born into. Gandhi's ideas make Bakha believe that reform is possible, not through anger, but through love, truth, and fairness. Friends, just after hearing Gandhi's message of kindness and change, Bakha hears something else, something very different, but just as powerful. A man starts talking about a new invention, flush toilets, that clean themselves. These toilets don't need a sweeper to clean them. This idea surprises Bakha. Could this really be possible? For the first time, Bakha hears about a practical solution to his biggest problem. If these modern toilets are used everywhere, people like him wouldn't have to do the dirty, painful job of cleaning latrines anymore. He wouldn't be called untouchable because of his work. The idea fills him with excitement. Bakha begins to imagine a future where technology brings freedom, where machines solve the problems that society has ignored for years. While religious and social leaders talk about change, this simple invention seems like something that can actually make a difference. The thought of it gives him hope, and he wants away with a new light in his heart. Friends, as the day ends and night slowly falls, Bakha walks home, tired but full of thoughts. He has been through a lot: insult, shame, kindness, and new ideas, and even a glimpse of better future. His heart feels heavy but also a little more awake than before. He keeps thinking about all the things he heard and saw that day. Gandhi's message touched him deeply. The idea that untouchability is wrong and should end gave him hope. The thought that someone so respected could stand up for people like him made Bakha feel seen for the first time. But then there is also the idea of the flush toilet, a machine that could remove the need for his painful work completely. It was not emotional or spiritual, but practical. A simple invention that could change everything. It made Bakha think, maybe this is how things really change, with action, not just words. Now, Bakha is caught between different ideas: the kindness of Gandhi, the power of technology, and the pain of tradition. He doesn't have the answers yet. He is just a boy trying to find his place in a world that has never been fair to him. But for the first time, he has questions, and questions are the beginning of change. The novel ends quietly, without any big solution. We don't know what Bakha will choose. But that's the point. Untouchable ends with a question, not an answer. And it asks us to think, to feel, and to imagine a better world where no one is treated as less because of his birth. Friends, this ending is powerful because it makes us reflect. It reminds us that real change doesn't come from one person or one idea. It comes from understanding, respect, and the courage to ask, why should anyone be untouchable? Thank you so much for being part of this video. If you found it helpful, do like, share, and subscribe to Angareji Sahitya for more such simple and meaningful explanations of English literature. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and keep thinking. Goodbye, friends.